What's up? It is Sam here, and I have an awesome video for today. We have our Twitter ranking of the Democratic candidates who are running for president. But first, have you ever wondered when you see these polls that are reported by the legacy media players that, oh, this is representative of the collective of America? Thanks. Well, one of the things that they don't really touch on very often is that the sample size is like less than 500 people. This is not a joke. I'm 100% serious. We're going to talk about that. So, with that being said, if it's your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it is good to freaking see you. I appreciate your support. Okay, so we've got Real Clear Politics. Real Clear Politics aggregates polling data on a national level that companies or entities put out, right? So the latest one they have here is from Emerson, and you can come over here. This is the sample size. The sample size, 497. Fox News, 500. Again, 500. 375. I'm sorry, 372. 500. And then this one here was 12,000. This was probably online. But you can see that there's Fox News, CNN, The Economist, Mammoth, ABC News, and Emerson. These organizations will do these national polls with less than 500 people and then report that that's the collective's understanding of who is the most interesting in America from a political standpoint. So, I've studied statistics for many years, and if there was no biases created in the way the question was asked, the sampling, the stratification of how you do the sampling, all the other ways that biases are created through polling, yeah, that could potentially be accurate if you were drawing from the actual population. But they're drawing from a very tiny, itsy-bitsy little fucking, like a neighborhood, right? So, what we did is we pulled up the poll from Emerson, and I want to read you this. This is the latest poll here that is on Real Clear Politics from Emerson. They have 497 people who talked about it or participated in it, where we have Biden, Sanders, Warren, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Yang, Klobuchar, Tom, and then Tulsi. And if we take a look, so this is, you can just click on that link and it takes you over to their website, and you scroll down to the bottom. Generally, it'll be a PDF, and it will talk about how they do some of the sampling. And it's caller ID, right? That's this section here. And I'm just going to read this to you. Data was collected using both an interactive voice response IVR system of landlines only. I don't know about you, bro, but I haven't had a fucking landline in 10 fucking years. And online panel provided by Amazon Turk. So, first of all, let's talk about the landlines. I don't know about you, but I don't have a landline. I don't think any person that I interact with on a regular basis, other than my mom and I don't even know if my mom has one. I don't think my mom has a landline. My dad probably has one for security reasons, because with the security system on his house. But I don't think my mom has one. I don't know one of my friends that has one. I mean, who the fuck has landlines? Do you think you're gonna exclude a giant portion of the population if you only look at this one fucking area? And then you're like, wow, well, they did something with Amazon Turks. So I looked into Amazon Turks, and basically it's just like one of those sites. It is legit, right? People do actually get work done this way, but it's like one of those survey sites, right? So you're like, hey, you get paid 36 cents to do this survey, right? It only takes you 96 seconds, so you're going to end up making $14 an hour, right? And they do provide the work, but it's just somebody who's just like, fuck, I need more money. And they're just like going through it. More than likely. So you're looking at this tiny little subset of people who have ever heard of Amazon Turk, have signed up as like freelancers on that site, and are going to participate on that site, right? These are some of the issues we're dealing with when we talk about polling. So what I did is I took Twitter. Twitter, according to Statistica, has a month, and this is reported by Twitter itself, has a AUM, which is a active monthly users or something like that. What is it? Monthly active users, MAU, of 68. Not 68 million, but I'm sorry, 68, but 68 million people who use that on a monthly basis. So what I did is I went over to Social Blade. They track social profiles for different social platforms. And right here we have Michael Bloomberg. And I pulled up a couple different things here. So we looked at 3 separate things here. We looked at the total number of new followers that they've gained over the last 30 days, the total growth rate over the last 30 days, and an indicator of how much work people are putting in on each platform, as in the total number of tweets. Now, when we take a look at this, I want to know the total number of tweets, because if I go to my neighborhood and I knock on 3 doors a month, and you come to my neighborhood and you knock on 3,000 doors a month, who do you think is going to be more fucking relevant? The internet is the same as the real world. People do the same fucking shit, right? So if you go to Twitter, that neighborhood, and you knock on the door 1,000 times, and I tweet once a day, and you're tweeting several times a day, and you get to 1,000 a month, and I'm doing 30 a month, who do you think is going to get their message out to more people? It's just common sense. So what I did is I stack ranked the candidates in each one of these factors. The most important being the total number of new followers they have, then the how much work they're putting in, and lastly the growth rate. Because somebody like Tom Steyer, who only has like 250,000 followers, he could be growing at like 50%, but if he goes from 250 to 375, that's only 375. Like, the next closest person is probably Amy Klobuchar, and she's already got 800,000. So he's still 50% less than Amy Klobuchar, or somebody like Bernie Sanders, who has 10 plus million new or 10 plus million followers. So I put them all into a spreadsheet and came up with the top 5 candidates of Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, and Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar is kind of interesting because she hasn't been super relevant most of the time we've been doing this ranking. And recently, since this last debate, she's been really stepping up. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I don't know what is going on in her campaign because I don't follow the context of what the candidates are actually saying. I just want to understand what the collective is interested in. So let's take a look at some of these numbers here. Interestingly, we have a place switch between Bernie and Andrew Yang. I think what's helped Bernie tremendously is that interaction that he had with Elizabeth Warren on the debate stage, and the way that he's handled himself in some of those interactions. Well, I'm assuming that he handles himself similarly in other interactions, because I've just caught that tiny, 11-second clip through marketing my content, where he went through and was going to shake Elizabeth Warren's hand, and Elizabeth Warren pulled her hand away, and she's like, "Did you just call me a liar?" Right? And he was like, "Let's not do this." Right? We're not 7 years old. And that's helped him a lot. He has gained 250,000 new followers in the last 30 days. They're like, "Oh yeah, we don't want somebody to act like a child who's going to fucking run the country." And I have no, right, this is on one data point of 11-second video, and I have no idea what the context of the situation is. They could be best friends. I have no idea. She could be super hurt. I have no fucking idea at all. I don't follow the content. Don't follow. So it's just that tiny bit of data that I saw as I was marketing these videos that allowed me to come to that conclusion. But I have no idea of the context of the situation. So I could be 100% wrong. But just from that tiny bit of information I saw, which I think a lot of Americans actually consume politics in that way, they'll just see a tiny little bit here or a tiny little bit there, but they don't actually follow actively any of the candidates until maybe it gets closer, and then you still have a giant portion of the population who just doesn't give a shit. Like, I've never cared about politics. I just want to understand what's going on, and this is a very recent phenomenon for me, going back to September. But that's just kind of interesting. Yang dropped to second place. Elizabeth Warren's been holding steady at third for quite a while, back into November. Joe Biden, he's been holding steady at fourth. Pete, he's been at sixth for a while. So not the only really noticeable change here is between Bernie Sanders and Andrew Yang. But let's dive a little bit more into the actual data here. Let's look at the total number of new followers they've gained over the last 30 days. And Bernie Sanders is the only candidate who's gained triple digit in terms of new followers. The next closest person is Joe Biden. He's gained 92,000 new, 93 almost new thousand followers. So he's gained 2.5 times, more than 2.5 times what the next closest person had. That's tremendous, because I believe Bernie Sanders also has the largest Twitter account. So generally, as you get bigger, you grow at a lower rate. But he is still growing in the top 5 in terms of if we look over here at the growth rates. Even though he has 10 million plus followers, and I just remember Tom Steyer, right? He's got 250,000, right? And Tom's growing at 10% roughly, and Bernie's growing at 2.5%. So about Tom's growing about 4.5 times or 4 times faster than Bernie Sanders. But Bernie Sanders has 10 plus million followers. That's pretty tremendous. That's a lot of growth. I mean, look at this. Look at this between him and Tom. 10x, right? 25,000 versus 250,000. That's astonishing. That's a lot. Then we have the next cluster of people who are all very similar. Andrew Yang, Joe Biden, and Elizabeth Warren. And they're all in that like mid 80s to low 90 range. With Andrew Yang is 87 almost, Joe Biden 93, and Elizabeth Warren at 83. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comment section. Use the hashtag STOLT, the name of the channel, and then when we get into the Q&A section, which we're about to do, then we can talk about your question. So the last category that I wanted to touch on here, look at this. Tulsi though, oh man, she was at second, jumped to 8th, came back up. Now she's just been. What do you guys think? You think she's gonna be like the next to drop out? I thought it was gonna be Amy, and then Amy started picking up steam. I don't know. This is gonna be interesting to see what happens, because she gained the least amount of followers. She's not putting in she's not putting in a lot of work, as in the total number of tweets per month for these candidates. I just dumped my food all over my desk. The total number of tweets per month per candidate, she put out 192. I believe I've put out more than 192 over the last 30 days. But one standout here from who's putting in the more work, and I have a theory on this, Andrew Yang. So he's got about 1,500 tweets over the last 30 days. Amazing. That's a lot of doors to knock on. The next 2 closest people are Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. So I think the reason Joe Biden has so many new followers is probably because he's not like interacting in that neighborhood, right, on Twitter, but the media reports on him, and the media still has, at least today, some type of fucking relevance. Some people care what they think. So that, I think, is what's helping him out tremendously. Because if you look at everybody else who's, or the other people here, Bernie Sanders, he's putting 439. Elizabeth Warren, she's 575 tweets. But still, 3x that for Andrew Yang. That's a lot of like interaction with the community. These are individuals that they're interacting with. I don't know how many people I've met in person through, say, YouTube or through Instagram or through some other social platform. The amount of work that, and this is the conjecture or the theory that I have about this, is that when you're not part of the establishment, as in Andrew Yang here, he is not a politician. In order to, which there's something in psychology called the establishment bias, and I think that plays a part into it, plus maybe some blatant like actual discrimination and just not including him. But I think that the baseline is just what's documented in the literature, which is the establishment bias. Like, think if you go into the office, right, and you're the new guy, and there's 15 other people who've been working together for 10 years. you're the new dad. You're the new dude. You're not going to get the inside jokes. You're not going to be included in a lot of shit. You're the fucking new guy, right? So you have to work way harder to be included in that in this time period that you have, right? The election is 11 months away, 10 months away. So you're going to have to work way harder to be included in this. And that, to me, looks like and this has been consistent across the board. This has been since we started doing these rankings at the beginning of September. The amount of engagement with the community in that neighborhood on Twitter has been way higher than everybody else across the board. I think that's a very intelligent move and almost a requirement, because not being part of the establishment means that they're not going to include you in stuff in terms of the mainstream media. So you have to work way harder to be at the same level that everybody else is, right? They're going to already come in and they're at step 4. You're step 0. So you got to get up these other steps just to be at the same thing that they're at. But what that does, if this continues, I mean, like Bernie's crazy, right? Like that's still 2.5, 3 times more than what, the next closest people have. This is absolutely amazing. That's amazing. But with the amount of work in that neighborhood, I could see that potentially snowballing if there's a long enough time horizon. Potentially, when you see something that's so crazy like that, right? We can see that Bernie's been doing this for quite a long time. He's just slowed down from 2016 for a period of time and then it's ramped back up. So he was already doing that since before 2016, let's say 2015, 2014. You have all that ramping, right? Then you have a little bit of slowing down, but people still know who you are, and then you start to bring that back up. That's, I think, helping Bernie out tremendous through this. And if you want to have any chance, you're going to just have to put in an abnormally high amount of effort to be able to break through that barrier. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comment section. The first comment we have here is actually from Wood Firepower. Thank you so much, Wood Firepower. I appreciate it. They say, hey, what's up? I resemble... smiley face. The last boomer comment. Well, fucking awesome. Hey, I appreciate the comment. That is awesome. Born in 1955, 11 years after Dad returned from World War II, I drove from California to Iowa and will continue to New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Florida. First of all, amazing. Thank you for the comment. Second of all, I am going to be in South Carolina and in Florida, probably in California in 2020. So, hit me up. I'll be in South Carolina probably March time. I'll also be in Ohio if anybody is going to be around Ohio, probably around Akron. And I'll be in New York in another week or so. So if somebody wants to get a meetup, create some content, get a workout in, let me know. I'm going to be all across the country. Also, I quit my job. So if you guys appreciate any of this, if you guys want to support any of this stuff, I did just create a Patreon. If you're like, hey, fuck, this guy just wants money, don't do it. Don't do that. It's not worth your time. But if you want to support what we're doing here and spreading the message around, maybe, just maybe, there's a more intelligent or thoughtful way of considering what the American public is actually interested in, I would really appreciate the support. I've got about 15 to 18 months worth of savings before I have to go back and get a job of some sort. Boomers are not just watching your show. We are taking notes and knocking on doors in Iowa, conveying your thoughts. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I really do appreciate anybody who leaves a comment or consumes any of the content. Thank you so much. This is one of your best videos. Appreciate it. This is in regards to the national YouTube rankings. If you want to check out that video, it came out just recently. Just click on the link, the profile picture, and then search for national YouTube rankings. You should watch Bill Clinton's past talk with the MLK ceremony. He warned that people shouldn't trust polls. I agree 100%. I have a CFA, which is a chartered financial analyst. So if you think of like a mutual fund or so a lot of times they work at insurance companies, think of like an actuary type of thing. But it's very, very quant heavy, and you cover like economics and all this other stuff. So I've covered statistics significantly. I also have an MBA in finance and accounting. And to see something like this, I didn't even like think about this when I was doing my MBA or getting my CFA, that we actually take sample size. Like, I wouldn't be putting money on this. Like, I invest in the stock market. I trade options. I wouldn't be necessarily investing or trading, putting my money, unless I had like a really good understanding that the shit I was doing was actually accurate. And to me, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting my money on the line unless I knew it was accurate. Like when I back tested this, what we do with the Google and the YouTube search rankings on the 2016 election, the polls said this, like, 11 out of the top 10 that were reported on Real Clear Politics said Clinton, one said Trump, and if you look at the YouTube search volume and the Google search volume, the two biggest sites on the planet, they both pointed in the other direction. So that was kind of interesting. He warned that polls should be trusted. A contender can speed from behind and win the race like I'm not saying that word right, but did race after race. Behind at the half and then flying past the competition for a win. I get that sense a little bit with Andrew Yang, but I'm not sure. That's what like actually brought me into like trying to search for the truth in this, because I'm so far off the beaten path on how I live my life that I don't follow politics at all. And then to have somebody like Andrew Yang show up in my YouTube feed, and then I was like, who the fuck is this? I don't follow politics. Why is this dude showing up? And then from there, I go to look at the polls, and I was like, wait a second. How does somebody who's like so far off the beaten path show up on my feed? I don't read headlines. I don't click on articles. I don't watch political videos. How does he show up on my feed? Right? And I look at the polls, and he's non-existent in the polls. I was like, oh, what is going on here? This is not right. I'm way, way, way off the beaten path, and something's still showing up on my radar, but it's not showing up on mainstream media. The media says this, right? But the truth is this. So that's what made me actually look into this, because I saw that happening with myself. He also said we need to get rid of trickle-down economics and replace it with trickle-up economics. I think this would be very, very interesting. UBI's Angram's trickle-up economics, and he is the dark horse candidate in the data. Your data shows. I think Bill Clinton's watching you. That would be crazy. And keep up the work. I appreciate the comment, and I accidentally click on the hashtag and see if it goes back over to the comment section. Let's get into another one. This is from Montana Firefighter. What's good, Montana Firefighter? Hey again, your stuff is always great, man. This is the type of stuff people have a hard time digesting by just looking at it, but you explain this with some palatable visual read. So also, with the Patreon, so I have not figured out how to set up a website yet where I can get the data to be able to put in there to have you guys play with it. But what I can do, and this is what I'm doing on the Patreon, is I'm uploading the spreadsheets that I use into Patreon. So this way, it's going to be a copy of it, obviously. Put it up there so that if anybody wants to see this data or play with this data, they can, because I think this information is valuable. The visualization of the data hasn't been a strong area where I've been putting a shitload of effort to try to figure out how to visualize this in a more intelligent way, because I've been focusing on other things. But I think putting that out there for other people to see who are more talented or more creative in that realm could be very interesting. And just seeing the data for themselves instead of having it like on a tiny screen when you're trying to watch might be useful to people. So that's over on the Patreon. I'm also going to be adding a lot of new shit and maybe like a Discord or something like that. So appreciate everybody's time. Don't forget to subscribe, press that bell notification so YouTube can notify you next time I post a video. TikTok, shit is blowing up on there. Just crossed over 5.2 million views over the last 28 days and over 11,000 followers. That's multitudes bigger than YouTube with this much time versus YouTube, right? Years worth of work to get to like where I'm at versus on TikTok, it's been maybe 110 days to get to 5.2 plus million views. astonishing. The amount of attention on TikTok is insane. Appreciate you guys.